Hey, I'm Russ.
And I'm Steve.
Growing up in the 80s, we were introduced to video games, movies, and technology that made a lasting impression on us and forever enriched our lives.
I think I'm gonna cry.
It's been a fascinating journey to be a part of, one that we constantly treasure.
Higher, booty.
Our goal is simple: share our magical moments of discovery and geek out with lovely folks, just like you.
Achievement unlocked.
So if you crave pixel goodness, memorable moments, and experiences that make your inner child do the happy dance, you've come to the right place.
Let's do this.
Welcome to Joygasm.
Yeah.
So you just starting your day, or did you just get off?
They call, I go, you know.
So what is it you do?
I'm a driver.
Oh, like a chauffeur. Anyone I'd know?
I hope not.
What is your name?
Baby.
Your name's Baby. B-A-B-Y, baby.
This one who say listen to the music all the time?
Is he mental?
Mental meaning slow. Was he slow?
No.
He had an accident when he was a kid. Still has a hum in the drum. Plays music to drown it out. And that's what makes him the best.
One more job and I'm done.
One more job, and we're straight.
Now, I don't think I need to give you the speech about what happens when you say no, how I could break your legs and kill everyone you love, because you already know that, don't you?
Yeah.
The moment you catch feelings is the moment you catch a bullet.
And your waitress girlfriend, she's cute. Let's keep it that way.
I want us to head west and never stop.
You in?
I'm in, baby.
One of these days, baby, you're gonna get blood on your hands.
Time to face the music.
Baby, we need to get out of here.
I have to end this. Are we in bed together now?
Baby.
Baby? Baby.
Doc said Michael Myers.
This is Mike Myers.
It should be the Halloween mask.
This is a Halloween mask.
No, the killer dude from Halloween.
Oh, you mean Jason?
No!
Baby, you tell me who does.
She a good girl? You love her?
Yes, I do.
That's too bad.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Joygasm. My name is Russ, Xbox Live Toaster 360, and with me, as always, is my stupendous sibling Steve, aka Xbox Live Stevavitch, as we begin episode 23 on this July 8th, 2017. If you have questions, comments, or just want to show us some love, you can find us on Twitter at Joygasm TV. If you need to find some content, whether it be video games, movies, or pop culture related, you can just go to facebook.com/JoygasmTV as a one-stop shop. We're also available on SoundCloud.com/JoygasmTV for all of your listening fixes that you need. Today, we're going to dedicate this episode of Joygasm to reviewing the movie Baby Driver. But before we put our pedal to the proverbial metal, how you doing, Steve?
Russ, I'm doing great.
Wow, it's good to hear that, Steve.
Yeah, got some sleep last night, and it's always good to see you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure on this side of the table, this side of the microphone.
It's always fun doing these kind of podcasts, talking with you, hamming it up.
Yeah.
Pun intended. Winky wink. Nudge, nudge.
Did you bring some ham? I like ham, especially with Grey Poupon.
Oh, getting a little hungry. How you doing, Russ?
I am absolutely just.
You look
tickled.
chipper.
I'm chipper. You know, I will take that. I will take the word that you have bestowed upon me and use it. I am feeling chipper. It's Saturday afternoon, actually. And yeah, it's just been a great weekend thus far.
It's a beautiful day.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers would say.
And hopefully it'll be a beautiful day on Monday when everybody hears this.
Absolutely. Even if it's not a beautiful day, it will turn into a beautiful day because they are listening to the bros. So, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? I know what you've been watching, at least with regards to Baby Driver.
I just nothing new to report, Russ. I got my daily fix of Bit Heroes.
Oh, what level are you at now?
I think I'm at level 57. I didn't bring the phone with me, but the last I checked, I think I'm at level 57.
Nice.
Let's see. So other than that, little Clash Royale. The 2v2 is continuing through the month of July, so that's a good thing.
Have you been poning people?
Sure. Yeah, of course.
We'll just go with that. Yeah.
So I'm getting lots of loot, lots of cards, having a great time. It's funny because if I lose, if
that was ever a possibility,
it's not so defeating as if it's 1v1 for some reason. I have a better time. I have a better time losing at 2v2 than I do with 1v1.
Gotcha.
So yeah. But other than that, just a little bit of more Overwatch. Although nothing to report this time. Just some casual fun.
Just grinding along. Just having a good old time.
Yeah. I will tell you, my loot boxes are increasing because I'm waiting to see what the next promotion is. If it's going to be the July Summer Games or it's going to be something else. I'm going to try it again. I'm up to 19 loot boxes unopened.
You know, Steve, I hate to burst your loot box bubble.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Russ.
However, I feel compelled to tell you. It's better if I tell you now as opposed to when the next event occurs. Blizzard has put into the game a stopgap, if you will, where they timestamp each loot box that you acquire.
Are you sure about that, Russ?
I'm absolutely positively, in a non-HIV kind of way, yes. What they do is they timestamp the loot boxes, and this is very crafty, very clever of Blizzard, because it forces you to even play more during the event process. Great. So what happens is that, like, say for instance, the next event comes up, and then you think, sweet, I'm going to open up all these loot boxes. I'll be able to get a bunch of cool skins and emotes, whatever it is you're looking for. What happens is that you go to the loot boxes and there will be different classifications of loot boxes. So all the ones you're getting right now will still be like pre-event. And then like each one that you get during the event will be, of course, present event. And then any of course, that you get after will be post. So yeah, I tried your approach on a previous event and I thought I was beating the system. But alas, Blizzard has a lot of bright minds over there.
You know...
How many loot boxes do you have?
19.
Oh my God.
So I'm going to either chalk it up to either A, I'm going to have a great time opening all these loot boxes at once, or B, I'm going to be the one person that has the glitch, and I'm going to filter through, bug my way through, and I'm just going to,
Maybe you are the chosen one, Steve. Perhaps you are the Overwatch's Neo. You are the anomaly.
You know, or here's the other thing, because the last time I tried this was with Orisa, and I was wanting to get a bunch of Orisa stuff because she was the new character.
Yeah.
And I got nothing.
Nada.
And to this day, I've not received anything except for sprays for Orisa. I haven't got any oh no. I received one emote. Since she's been out, I've received one emote, no skins, just sprays.
I've noticed that you have quite a few of the icons.
Yeah.
I
have a ton of icons.
I don't have that many icons. I was looking through because I noticed that you updated yours not too long ago. And so I was looking around and I mean, I'm happy with the diva little you know, maniacal bunny icon. I feel like that is befitting to me. But yeah, when it comes to just a lot of other people who I see playing, they'll be able to update their icons and they have several icons that I have yet to achieve or acquire. Yeah. So I don't know if that's just kind of the luck of the draw or what, but at least you have that going for you.
I have a slew of player icons I can choose from. Lucky me. Lucky me.
And of course, since you've been having all those loot boxes saved up, you might as well just keep saving them until the next event anyway.
That's what I'm going to do.
Because like you said, you never know.
You never know.
I will remain positive on your behalf.
Oh, you're such a positive, bright guy, Russ.
I am.
That's what I love about you.
To a fault, I would say sometimes. Luckily, my wife is more of a realist, so she's able to pull my head back down from the clouds and rainbows.
Life is not positive, Russ.
Yeah.
Get down here, and she gives you a little nugget. Get back down here to reality.
Yeah, exactly. It's good. We balance each other out like that. You know, I'm able to lift her up. She's able to bring me down. That sounds terrible. Where's the edit button on this? Have you been playing anything else or watching anything else?
Love you, Russ's wife. I think you're a great person. I think that'll be it.
That's it for you.
What about you?
So I decided to take a bit of a break from Overwatch.
About time.
As well as Injustice 2.
It's about time for that too, Russ.
I decided to go back into the Rise of the Tomb Raider. I can't remember if it's Rise of Tomb Raider or the Rise of... I think I'm going to go with Rise of the Tomb Raider.
It's just Tomb Raider Rise of the...
It's something. It's one of... You know, depending on like what language you're speaking anyway, some of those things can be switched around. So, yeah. But yeah, I just got back into it, and it's great because now I have 2 video games, one on the PS4 and one on the Xbox One, that has a heroine with
there you go.
Archer abilities and being able to do stealth-like moves, and so I'm a happy camper. It was one of those games like I started out strong. I'm a huge fan of the series. I especially love the game before it. But for whatever reason, once again, it's just sounding like a broken record. I think either life happened or there were other games that came out, and it just got lost temporarily. But now I'm back into it, having fun with just where I'm at. The game is really well done. I mean, it's a bit dated now because it came out a little while ago.
Hey, good games are good games.
Exactly. The one weakness in the Tomb Raider games that I've always had, and this goes all the way back to just when the first Tomb Raider game for the PC came out, was I never find the villains captivating. And this is just maybe a personal thing for me, but like I love Lara Croft as a character. I really do appreciate like kind of the journey that they've put her on, especially with the last couple of games. And I love the locales. I think the locales are just real fun to be able to go adventuring, kind of as a hot female version of Indiana Jones.
Sure. That's fine.
But the villains, I just feel like they need to go back to the drawing board and come up with something that's a bit more memorable because they all just kind of blend together for me.
Yeah.
So I don't know if everybody else feels that way or not, but that's just kind of a critique I have of the game. But I mean, that is a very small, slim pickings to an otherwise just fun game. It's just real fun to play. So I've been playing that. I also today I started Unravel. And I don't know if you've seen this game or heard of it, but I think it originally came out for the PlayStation first, and then it made its way onto Xbox Live. It's an indie game, as far as I know. It took them about 2.5 years to complete. But it's just this really cool 2.5D side scroller of a game, and the character, I had the name of the character and I just lost it, so I apologize. But the character is basically like this ball of yarn, but it's not in the shape of a ball. It's actually it like kind of weaves itself into like this really cute looking red character with white eyeballs.
I think I've seen that one.
I noticed that the reviews gave it a lot of critical praise, and so I was always like kind of a game in the back burner that I wanted to get, and I bought it a while ago. I just didn't start playing it, and so I was just like, you know what? And my daughter was up here, and so I was thinking, well, what can I play that she'll like? And she loved it, by the way. She loved watching it. And the game itself is a smartly designed game. It's kind of in that same vein as Limbo and Inside, in the sense that there are certain types of brain teases and different gameplay elements that really cause you to have to figure out how to move past a certain part. And once you figure it out, you're like, oh wow, that was really clever. And then it motivates you to want to keep going on. So I'm not too far into it, but it is just a heartwarming game. They put a lot of, you can tell, I think a lot of the folks who are involved with the project are people who are family people.
People who just love yarn.
Yeah, people have this weird fixation with yarn. I don't get this. No, but it actually had some Pixar elements to it in that regard, with just how the story was making an emphasis on, as you're playing through levels, you will see these certain child memories that are going on, and he encapsulates them into the yarn. And I have a feeling, because it's the game starts out showing this old woman in her house, and she's by herself, and she has this basket of different types of colored yarn, and the red one of the balls falls down the stairs, and that's kind of how you get created in a way. But I have a feeling that there's a lot to it in terms of just the yarn kind of acting as this visual metaphor of just life, like your lifespan, and just as you go along this string of yarn, so to speak, you just see these different types of chapters in your life that have transpired and what goes on. And I think it's almost kind of going back through this old woman's life, showing back when she was younger, showing like her children playing in like tree forts and playing through the yard and that sort of thing. Like I said, I haven't gotten too far into it, but it's super fun. Like just the gameplay mechanics where you have to utilize your yarn. Like he can only go so far before he starts running out of yarn. And as a result, his body gets unraveled. And so you constantly have to be on the lookout for more bundles of yarn, so to speak.
Yeah.
And like you can use it to like lasso yourself up to like a tree branch and climb up it or shimmy down. You can tie off a piece of your yarn, which is basically a part of you, to like one. It could be like a rake in the yard, and then the other side can be tied on to some children's toy, and then you can use that to bounce up and down like a trampoline almost to get to places you didn't think were possible. So they have a lot of those different things in place that force you to think, okay, how can I take advantage of the yarn, but at the same time don't waste it, because there are times when you'll be a little too frivolous with it, and suddenly you can't go any farther in the level. You've run out.
Yeah.
And there are times when you can't even backtrack to like reclaim some of your yarn. Sometimes you can. You can reclaim some of your yarn. Sometimes you can't. And they actually have on the D-pad, you have to hold down on the down portion of the D-pad, and it will restart that particular section if you find yourself in a bind like that. So really digging it.
It almost sounds like it should be like a mobile game.
You know, it could very well be a mobile game. I could definitely see that. The nice thing about the way that they have set it up is that he's this tiny character. And so as a result, the world that he exists in is done through kind of a macro lens. So all the blades of grass are super tall, and there's a shallow depth of field. You could see little animals scurrying through the lawn. I saw a hedgehog go by at one point, or like there was a bird that was landing and getting a worm or something. And it was just cool because it gave you that little point of view, and it made you appreciate some of those little things. I think almost like how a child appreciates a lot of these things, and causes you as a parent to just slow down to smell the roses and just rediscover a lot of things that you, of course, already are well versed in. But it's just being able to see it through that I just thought was a novel approach to the gaming. So that is what and of course, the wife and I watched more Vikings last night. There's a lot going on in season 4, part 2. I think we got to about episode 4 or 5, but just a lot of moving and shaking going on. Like I said before many times, I'm not going to tell you what's happening because it's too new. Don't want to spoil it for anybody. And also I want you to watch it.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm curious to see what you think. By the by, I have to make a correction on the previous episode.
Yes, you do. I think.
When you were talking about how you watched the Warcraft movie, I said that the actor who plays Jax in Sons of Anarchy was the main actor. I was wrong.
Knew it, Russ.
I was wrong. I apologize for that. The actor is actually from Vikings. The main actor from Vikings, and so definitely apologize for that. Want to make sure we can remain as accurate as possible on the show.
Accurate and acute.
Exactly. And I have no qualms about apologizing on things that are a bit of an little bit of an oopsie daisy on the show.
When you're right, you're right. When you're wrong, you're wrong.
I like to be transparent, you know?
Yeah, no one's perfect, Russ.
Well, I think without further delay, we should just dive right into Baby Driver. What do you think?
Let's get up on it.
All right. So we are going to begin by giving both of our high-level impressions of the film, and then afterwards, we're going to drill down into the following categories: casting / acting, plot, script, and the kind of more of the dialogue sense, cinematography, and finally soundtrack. And then once we're done with that, then I've also accumulated some fun trivia afterwards. So that way, if you guys are curious about kind of little things here and there that perhaps you didn't know about the film, it's going to be a little joy for the ears.
So non-spoilers first, then definitely spoilers later.
Yeah. So high level, we won't have any spoilers. We're just going to keep it just very broad stroke. Did we like the film? Did we not like the film? Maybe some things here and there, but we're not going to reveal any plot points. We're not going to do anything on that. And then we'll probably give you guys the opportunity who have not seen the film and don't want to hear the spoilers to be able to jump off without freaking out as we continue on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn it off, I want to hear it.
It's like the one time when you're trying to actually get your phone to respond to your tapping and it's just not working, and you start freaking out. So don't worry. We'll give you ample time to be able to shut it off before then. So Steve, let's start with you. Just starting out from the very highest of the high level. Did you like the movie or not?
I like the movie. I think overall I'd give it a solid B+.
Okay.
I will have to start off with saying this, that when we played the trailer initially on the show, I was like, I
remember that. Yeah,
I'll pass.
You were pretty dismissive.
Yeah.
And I remember you saying how you thought it'd be cool for a 13-year-old. Do you retract that statement, Steve?
Well, yes and no. Let me tell you why, Russ.
Oh, I would love to hear it.
I love trailers, but there's sometimes when the trailer either A, plays all the good parts of the movie, or B, doesn't do the movie justice. And this was B. To me, it did not do the movie justice at all. I went back, I looked at the trailer even before we played it again. I watched it a few times last night. I'm thinking, man, I still feel the same way I felt when I watched it initially. But after the movie, I'm thinking, I had a great time watching the movie. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think some people saw the trailer and they thought they would watch it. I think some people may have probably felt like I felt, perhaps, and thought, I'm going to pass on that one. And I'm here to tell you, don't pass on this one. Yeah,
I actually think that that's a really astute observation because even going through the trailers of Baby Driver, I had the same kind of notion that most of the trailers did not do the movie justice at all. In fact, the one that we played at the beginning of this episode was one of the better ones. It was the ones I felt like it captured more of the soul of the film.
Yeah.
And I actually, it's so important from a marketing perspective. For those of you that don't know, I do a lot of motion graphics design, a lot of video production work. And so this stuff I just really get a kick out of analyzing. But looking at what they did with this film, it's so important to try and capture that. And sometimes you'll have the opposite effect occur where the marketing guys will do this fantastic job with the trailer. It gets you pumped to see the film. And then when you go to the film, you realize the film is not as good as the trailer. Like it was actually just a fantastic job that the people at the agency did. So it goes back and forth, but yeah, I agree. I think in this case, 90% of the trailers for Baby Driver it didn't do the film itself justice, which, it says a lot in terms of the word of mouth because this film, I think it flew under the radar for both of us. And it wasn't really until I was looking at certain reviews and I actually had a couple of friends who had seen it who were saying, yeah, you need to see it. This is really good. And I think that's what's occurring with this film is that as more and more people see it, they realize, whoa, this is a must-see film.
It's been out for about a week, right?
A little over a week.
Yeah, so it's funny because your friends told you about it. My friends told me about it. I'm like, I guess I'll go see it. I'm dragging my feet. And then in the theater, I was having a ball. And then the sun was brighter when I got out of the theater. Oh, this is a great day.
Yeah.
One more thing about the trailer, too. To me, at least, I'm speaking from my own observations here, right? It looked like the film was going to be some sort of action comedy-ish. And I didn't see it as an action comedy. There was definitely some comedic elements and definitely funny parts for were a chuckle, but I wouldn't put this film in an action comedy. This was more like
action romance,
action thriller, stylish action thriller with some funny moments. But yeah.
When I think about the media that was produced in order to drum up hype for the film, the one thing that did catch my eye was the movie poster. it has kind of a throwback to almost like the 60s and 70s style where it's kind of that illustrated, stylized realism to it. Which is one of the things that I always dig. I always have loved that kind of approach to movie posters. And so you have this cool compilation of the different characters, and the composition is really cool, the way they're all laid out. And even the colors that they use a lot of more of the pink hues and the white with a little bit of perhaps a little bit of lavender in there too. So it's pretty, it's actually not exactly the same, but it's within the same vein as almost the Joygasm colors.
Indeed.
I mean, we have blue and more of like a kind of a dark magenta color to it, but the other, I can't.
It's a rather dark Cabernet.
Wafting.
Wafting.
Let's see. Lovely aftertaste.
Aftertaste of peaches.
A little fruity, but
some prunes and maybe
strong finish.
Maybe brewed at 7:45 in the morning.
I'm not exactly sure.
Maybe 8 o'clock. Yes.
French oak. I don't know. But I did.
Never gets old.
I did appreciate the movie poster approach. I thought that was super cool. I'm actually thinking about possibly getting because they have a few different variations. There's the one I told you about that was kind of like the official movie poster. The teaser one is much more clever in the sense where like you see a handgun and you see the smoke coming out from the barrel as if a bullet's been shot. And if you look at where you think that the bullet is, it's actually a car.
Yeah.
And the smoke, it's like this white smoke, but the white smoke, if you look more closely, they take on a shape as looking more like a waveform from like a song. So it's pretty cool. And then the rest of it has kind of this grungy texture to it, and it's got some pink and that sort of thing. So, but I thought it was pretty cool.
If I was to paint like an illustration for people, how this movie kind of is, I would say Guardians of the Galaxy mixed with the Transporter.
Okay.
A little bit,
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Transporter. So there was the Transporter. That was the Jason Statham?
Yeah.
Okay, that was what it was called.
Yeah, we were thinking about it last time, and I thought, I'm going to look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that you looked at that up. That was actually a fun movie, too.
Oh, yeah. Transporter 1. For sure, Transporter 1. Man.
Yeah. Love me some Jason Statham.
Indeed.
So what else did you think? High-level thoughts?
Let's see. I mean, it's been a good time. Or a good time. It's been a good while since I've seen like a decent driving flick. I mean, there's of course in the trailer, there's gonna be a bunch of driving, and I'm a car guy, so I don't need to see like $2 million cars to have a good driving flick. I just need to see some good driving.
Sure.
And it's about time. I mean, there was some good driving in like John Wick, I think was the last one I saw, but this one definitely had more memorable driving moments in it. So that appealed to the man.
Well, it was pretty cool too. Just bouncing off your point there. There
bounce
are
off a
using my yarn to trampoline off that. I thought that you made an interesting observation there where there are more films. There's a bit of a trend going on that kind of harken to that more raw driving,
non-CG.
Yeah, more practical effect, anti-hero, but yet the hero kind of thing. I'm digging it. I think it's a nice change of pace. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was where my thought ended on that, Russ.
Oh. Did you have any other thoughts about the high-level impression, Steve?
I think it just it had a good time with itself without taking itself too seriously, and I think that's important for entertainment. So yeah.
For me, I have to give credit to Jonathan Amos and Paul Mackless for the razor sharp editing style that they did for the film. For those of you who have seen it, you guys and girls know exactly what I'm talking about. For those who haven't seen the film, that's one of the strongest suits of the film overall, is just the sheer amount of editing that went into it that corresponded with the music and what was going on. That was certainly something we'll talk more about later on, but kudos to them for that. I totally agree. The movie is one of the best thrill rides of the year, let alone recent memory. I think that you hit the nail on the head. I think John Wick 2, Chapter 2 earlier this year had some good driving. Although I don't remember there being too much driving. I remember the intro had that awesome driving sequence.
Yeah, for sure. John Wick 1 did.
Yeah.
And I saw those. I saw those back to back. Obviously, you introduced me to it, so that I kind of put them both together. Pancaked them.
But yeah, I think it's absolutely a thrill ride of a show, and it was just a good time, like you said. It had a lot going for it in terms of just the pacing of it and that sort of thing. But the acting was down to earth, yet had an undercurrent of the sensational. I thought that was kind of cool. Like each one of the characters that you were introduced to, it wasn't over the top. It was definitely like, oh wow, like I could see this character existing. True to form, but at the same time, like there was like just a bit of, like I said, the only word I can think of is like just sensational. That's just kind of going on underneath, but it wasn't overplayed, and I thought that was fun. Love the cast. We'll get into that later on, but the cast I thought was just every person fit their role perfectly.
Yeah.
I would not have switched out anybody for anything.
No, not at all.
Loved how the movie ended. We won't talk about how the movie ended right now, but that was, I definitely think is worth mentioning, is that there have been a few movies that we've gone to see that the ending was just kind of okay, or it was subpar, it was passable, but it just left me feeling not entirely satisfied.
Yeah.
This film, the ending of this movie totally left me leaving the theater grinning. I'm like, yeah, I like that ending.
I have a couple thoughts about that, but I'm going to wait a little bit, Russ.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Let's see. What else on my notes here? This movie could easily have fallen into the trap of the quote, been there, done that stigma that often gets branded to this type of genre.
Yeah.
But Baby Driver steers clear of it. No pun intended. Or maybe it was.
Steers clear with burning tires.
Yeah. But basically due to it largely being aware of the smart and, how do I say this? I think it steers clear of it largely to the smart wit and flair, thanks to the creative minds of really it's mainly just Edgar Wright. I mean, he was the visionary behind this. You know, he actually both directed the film and wrote the script.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I always think that's super cool. You don't see that too often. Like, Quentin Tarantino is another director who tends to just write all of his scripts and then direct it, and you can tell
when you
quintessentially
watch it,
Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah. But I think it's kind of important for a director to do that, though, because he has everything that he sees, or everything that he's seen the film to be.
Yeah.
He knows how to direct, and I think that goes to what's his name again? The director of this film,
Edgar Wright.
Edgar Wright. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Edgar part. I just didn't know what his
was. Edgar wrong?
Yeah,
no.
Edgar wrong.
Edgar Wright.
Edgar.
When you're right, you're right, and you are right.
Yeah. So, but I mean, if somebody else writes the script, they kind of have an idea of how they want things to be said or things to be done or whatever.
Yeah.
And if the director does both, I mean, you get more of a pure flick, I think.
Yeah. The final thought I have for the high level is that the driving sequences were fun and even exhilarating at times, but I found myself wanting more. And I don't know if that's just me being greedy as a viewer, but like I felt like there just needed to be one or maybe two more driving sequences that had some craziness to it. Just some epic climax of driving prowess. And I just felt like it wasn't quite there. But again, that is more of a nitpick. It's something that would just be a nice to have, but I didn't feel was a detriment to the overall experience.
Yeah, no, I sense that too. I mean, being critical. I mean, I don't know if I wanted a more driving sequence or I wanted them to be just a tad bit more over the top or sensational.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I didn't want it over sensational. I just wanted just a tad bit more of what they gave us. I wanted a little bit more.
Yeah. Like I said, just if they had one more like heist or one more driving sequence that really just showcased Baby's prowess of just doing things. Because like there were moments like that in the film where you're like, whoa, yeah, that's like what I'm talking about.
Maybe towards the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been cool. Well, before we get into the spoiler version, I do believe we'll give folks a little time to be able to make some decisions of what they want to do.
We're going to go up a level here in the elevator. Which floor are you off at, Russ?
You know, typically I go off of floor number 13, which is typically an unlucky number, but it's always been lucky for me.
Yeah, I'm more of the level 7. You know, I get a little bit of a scenic floor.
Lucky number 7?
Lucky number 7. Mm-hmm. The pools, I think, is up top, Russ. It's one of those infinity skyline pools, you know. Maybe we should go to the top, take a little swim on this hot day.
It's a good thing I brought my banana hammock.
Thanks, Russ. Thank you.
If you don't mind, I'm going to push all of the buttons on our way up, just so we can stop at every floor. It's an obsessive compulsive behavior that I have.
What's wrong with this elevator? It's going on every stop. When's this thing gonna come down?
Yeah. Everybody just glares at me.
Everybody starts taking the stairs. Everybody loses like 5 pounds in a day. I'm on level 64. Oh,
I hate you. I think that's probably enough time for folks to decide whether or not they want to continue with this episode.
let's jump right into it, Russ.
Okay, well, here we go.
I believe our floors have arrived.
They have indeed. So let's start off with the cast. And we can talk about both the cast as well as their acting chops.
Sure, Russ.
I will start us off. I thought, well, like I mentioned earlier, the acting was down to earth and fluid. I thought everybody was cast perfectly. I enjoyed the complex relationships each character had with the protagonist. So I have some notes here I'll just share with you. Looking at Jamie Foxx, he was definitely the streetwise thug who sizes up Baby and the situations that are around him. John Hamm I felt like he was almost like a glimpse into the future of what Baby might be like should he stay on this path. You know, because he was a driver that he talked about early on. That's what he used to do.
Sure.
And then he also had his love interest that was there, and they were definitely into each other. And I could just, I don't know, by the time the film ended, I thought, well, this is something that I could see that if I were Baby, I would be looking at just that relationship, and especially where the film ended up. That's just something that I thought was worth mentioning. Kevin Spacey, I felt represented kind of a twisted father figure to Baby since his parents died so early on in his childhood. You know, he didn't have anyone else, but he had been obviously working for this guy for so long. There was a bit of that. What'd you think of that?
I mean, well, I liked Kevin Spacey. You know, I started thinking of him in what's that financial movie about the Lehman Brothers? It's a phenomenally good film. What is that?
It's not Lehman Brothers, but it was around it dealt with the stock
financial crisis.
Financial crisis. That is so funny. That's one of my favorite films.
Yeah. I'll look it up.
It's not House of No.
No, it's. I was thinking Market Watch, but it's not Market Watch.
Oh my gosh, I'm totally having a brain fart right now. That is so funny.
No, I'll look it up in a minute. But anyway, I saw Kevin Spacey at first being that character because I'm used to seeing Kevin Spacey in that movie because I've watched it quite a few times and he's really good in that movie. And then I've watched a plethora of episodes of House of Cards, just binge watched. So I'm used to him being the financial guy and then the devious president, you know? And so this time when he came on screen, I thought, he's going back to the financial guy, but he didn't.
That's right. He did
not.
Know?
And he still had this very commanding presence. But he demanded authority in a way that Kevin Spacey can, which is not over the top. It's very subtle, but very stern.
Right. Margin Call.
Margin Call.
That's what it was.
Awesome movie. Oh, that's a good movie. It's a businessy movie. You know, if anybody hasn't seen it, but I mean, it's
terrific. Yeah, you guys got to check that out if you haven't seen it.
I did like the relationship between him or Kevin Spacey. Doc was his name. Doc, or his code name.
Right.
Doc and Baby.
Yeah, I'm using the actors' names just because it gets kind of hard to understand who's who.
Yeah.
But yeah, Doc was the character.
I did like how he stuck up for Baby.
Yes, he had a very pragmatic approach to the heists that were going on. And he kept Law and Order. He was
Yeah.
a Law and Order guy. He was the one who wanted these plans he conceived the plans, and that reminds me, going back to one of the funny parts of the film, I just loved how he was talking with, I think it was Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
And he was drawing up the map on the chalkboard, and
That was Buddy.
Buddy, yeah, he was just like, "Oh my gosh, I just totally drew this map while talking to you," like
with chalk.
Yeah.
And multitask. I was thinking that same exact. That was a good scene.
Anyway, I thought Lily James represents innocence in the film, which that was in the film itself. She was pretty much the only innocent thing out of everybody. I mean, there were other characters, I suppose, if we want to, split hairs here. Of course, you had like the post office worker, she was more of an innocent and that sort of thing. But as an overarching character that made a huger impact on Baby, I think that's what Lily represented.
I did like, I'm trying to think of his name. I looked at it last night. The character who was Baby. I think either A, he was cast very well because he had a very young...
His name's Ansel, I believe.
Anzor, yeah, something like that. I identified with him.
You did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, do tell.
I mean, in my younger days, I was a very quiet guy.
Ansel Elgort is his name.
Ansel. So, obviously minus the driving because, yeah.
Wait, you're not as good at that? What's wrong with you, Steve?
I'm good, just not that good. So, back in the day, I was a very quiet guy. I was very observant. I was very shy. I just wasn't very talkative.
Did you wear
conversive.
60s inspired sunglasses, Steve?
No, but I have been told I used to wear some very old school but tasteful attire.
I see.
But I like the way he just interacted with everybody. He was very compassionate. And he also did have some innocence to him. He wasn't. He was part of this whole thing because he was drug into it since the debt he owed Doc.
Right.
But that's not to say he wanted to do it by any means. And he tried to save lives in a way, directly or maybe indirectly.
You saw he had conflict because he had gotten in with the wrong crowd. And actually, he even made decisions before he met Doc. I mean, Doc met him stealing his stuff.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was like just this completely innocent character in his world. He actually made some poor decisions, which was a direct result of the fact that his parents had a dysfunctional relationship, and also just the fact that they died so soon. He was not able to have the rearing of his parents. And so, I mean, a kid has to get by and does certain things that will get them into more trouble.
I liked, I think he was probably the most authentic character out of all of them, which was Baby. The scenes with him and his foster parent. Yeah. I really liked those scenes.
I have some stuff in there. I don't know if I think I have some stuff for the plot that we can talk about.
So, but I mean, even with Baby's, and I was going to get into that too. I was going to wait till you get to the plot. But I also thought, the way that he was doing some recordings, I thought that was an awesome touch to the movie.
That really was.
Man, I liked how. I don't know about how much of a plot. Yeah, I'll wait till we get to the plot till I go further with that. Anyway, John Hamm. I like me some John Hamm from all the Mad Men episodes.
Right. I thought that you'd recognize him.
For sure. And I think this was good for him to do this movie because I think a lot of folks who watch Mad Men are going to typecast him as being Don Draper.
Yeah.
So him being the opposite Don Draper, being a thug, but a caring thug at the same time. I think was good for him to kind of branch out a bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Isa Gonzalez also has an almost older sister relationship to Baby. She's the love interest to John Hamm's character.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a fabulous job too. She's got that kind of sultry, badass chick vibe going about her. And you could tell they had the passionate relationship thing going on. And so I have not seen her in anything else. I don't know if you have.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
You mentioned you like Jamie Foxx's character.
I liked all the characters.
I thought I was a little bit conflicted with Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
Or Buddy. Because I think, in a certain respect, he was smooth. And in certain respects, obviously we had to acknowledge him as the major bad guy.
Yeah.
It wasn't Doc being the major bad guy, even though he was the major player in the movie. It was Jamie Foxx.
Well, I think that you had that was kind of one of the qualities of the film, was that you have this unpredictability with every character that you came across. I thought that was one of the cool aspects of the film, was that it wasn't just, oh, here is the team that you're going to be watching the entire film.
Yeah.
You actually saw characters coming and going. And so all of a sudden, I don't know about you, but as a viewer, it kept me off balance constantly, because just when I was getting used to one of the characters, like the Asian character, suddenly he gets off. You're like, whoa, okay, he's done with. Now there's some other people coming in, and I just appreciate that. But anyway, continue.
No, yeah, I wanted more depth with him. I thought we got enough that he was evil and he was a bad guy, and he was and he's been through enough terrible situations that have hardened him into the bad guy, and he just sees the world as a dark place.
Yeah.
But we didn't see too much of his past. And we saw that conversation within the diner, for example, that, he had John Hamm's character made. Like, he knew where he came from, and him looking back at him, the knives in his eyes and everything. I was like, oh boy. But then we didn't get the reciprocal from that. Like, I think John Hamm's, what's the girl's name? His wife in the movie?
I don't remember the character's name, but the actress's name is Isa, I believe is how you say it.
Anyway, Isa tries to try and...
Dude, Isa or Isa, it's one of those two.
She tries to throw it back at Fox, and he appreciates the effort, but I mean, we still don't see anything where he came from.
But I think they did that intentionally, though.
Yeah, I just wanted more. I wanted more to that character. I had another thought. I just forgot what it was, though. I have to look at my notes. I had one more thought about Jimmy Foxx's character.
Yeah, I think that what was cool about the film was when you first meet him, of course, he's putting on that tough front. Like, he's just being a thug and everything else. And then as they perform their first heist, you can tell that he is giving Baby a chance.
Yeah.
He's not being this hard ass that he was initially, because he could tell that Kevin Spacey obviously has worked with this guy. He even said, this is the one person I've repeatedly done business with.
Right.
He knows how to do his job well. And so I think you saw a bit of a character arc with Jamie Foxx, where he's giving this kid a chance, because he realizes that this kid is younger than the rest of the crew.
Right.
And he does have some driving chops. When they get to the place where they're going to get the weapons,
sure,
he's definitely treating him a certain way. And it's really not until they get to the diner where suddenly Jamie Foxx realizes that Baby's not being straight with him.
Yeah.
And then so naturally the walls go back up, and he doesn't trust him anymore and that sort of thing. And especially when Baby tries to ditch everybody, that just really kicks it into high gear. And at that point, all trust is out the door.
But that's what I thought was left me there. The diner scene. So here you have this heist. There are these heists that are strategized and constructed and trying to not leave any rock uncovered and whatnot. And they're trying to get in, get out with as not being noticed, or least amount of notice that they can get. And then Jamie Foxx goes up and was about to off the waitress just because she said something to him about leaving some feedback that on the diner. I'm like, that's not an in character. These guys just don't off people just because. They're not from The Sopranos.
Well, I think he may have offed the person from the Quick Mart. If you recall, they had to stop off at the gas station to get something, and then he grabbed a bunch of stuff, and then they had to tear out of there. And I think it was because he may have shot the clerk there. I think that's kind of one of his MOs.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I remember that scene. I just didn't think it fit the movie, because all they did get was coffee, and then she didn't do anything to hurt anybody. They were just going to pay and walk out. And this is already after the heist, too. Like, they're trying to, not be noticed. And he was just going to take his Magnum, no silencer whatsoever, and boom! And I just like, what? I don't think so.
Well, I think he could also tell that something wasn't stirring the Kool-Aid with that character. I think that he could tell that she was just nervous and suspicious and that sort of thing. And I mean, you're looking at it from your point of view as a non-criminal. I think that when you're on the street, that you develop something there that is almost a sixth sense. And plus, it just plays into the fact that he's a ruthless character. That's part of what makes his character unique from the others.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw it as Doc selecting people precisely to do a job and not be loose cannons, which nobody else in the movie was a loose cannon per se. They just fired when fired upon, basically.
Well, and that acted as the vehicle in the story, was that typically that you're right. Like Doc usually picks people who he feels can complete the job in a way that he wants it to be done. And that's why you saw the fireworks go off later on, because Jamie Foxx was making decisions that were basically upsetting the plan.
Right.
So, moving on to Baby, the look of Baby had a total like retro 60s vibe, I thought, but it was kind of mixed with like a millennial current day look.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool. It reminded me actually of when you said you watched Man from U.N.C.L.E. or The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Mm-hmm. I felt like that film probably took place somewhere in the 60s.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the overall aesthetic of Baby, though, was a kind of a hybrid that blends perfectly with the music selection, visual style, editing, so on and so forth. All of those different elements, however, that I felt like they blended harmoniously together. And I think that was one of the film's strongest suits, really, is just the way that they were very pragmatic about how each character looks, based on like what music is being played and just the visuals and that sort of thing. I really appreciated that. The love interest too was palpable and genuine, I thought, just between Lily James and Ansley, just Baby and what was her name? Deborah,
yep.
Yeah. Both Baby and Deborah. I mean, just I absolutely love it when you see that in a film where the chemistry just comes across so naturally and you're rooting for them to get together. You want them to hang out and do things. And I just felt that was taken to 11.
I think that it goes with what your wife was talking about in Wonder Woman, which we talked about in the last episode, where, if they just did a lot of very high chemistry scenes, but not necessarily jump into the sack,
right,
that would have played a lot better with characters. And I was thinking, that's like spot on. And I was hoping for that in this movie, and they gave me that.
Yeah.
Every little smooch was a great smooch, and Hollywood was giving them the excuse of, okay, here's the open door. We're going to give this to you.
Sure.
And then the dude, Baby's a gentleman. He said no. And there's no love scene in the movie. I think that's fantastic.
Well, and Lily James is just absolutely adorable, playing the dream girl effortlessly. And just the way she smiled at him, you're just like, oh man, yeah, he is putty in her hands now.
Not just that, but the way she spoke to him was just that genuine. She was very authentic. I wanted to hear when he called her up at work that day. He was like, I just want to hear your voice. I'm like, oh man, I want to hear her voice too. Kind of reminds me of my long distance relationship where we only have the phone. I'm like, I just want to hear your voice. But the way her voice was, okay, baby.
Yeah, she rocked that Atlanta Southern accent. Yeah, that was really nice. Just thinking about her in the film. I actually talked to my wife about her, and apparently she plays Cinderella in the live action film, which I have not watched.
Cool.
As well as some other films. And she was just like, oh yeah. Every film, she's freaking adorable. She's just so sweet and cute and everything else. And so she could totally see that.
I think your wife would have liked this movie.
I do too. I showed her the trailer last night because I was kind of hesitant at first.
Yeah.
I was kind of apprehensive. And so I just kind of, at some point, just went over to her and I was like, hey, do you want to see the trailer to this just to see what you think? And so I showed her. She said, yeah, I'll check it out. And so I played it for her. And at the end of it, I think she is interested in possibly checking it out. I don't know if she wants to wait until it's available on like Amazon Prime or Netflix or whatever, or if she wants to go to the theater and check it out. But I think by the end of it, I think she definitely liked the music.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
I think it's just it's a nice couples film. It's got romance. It's got enough romance in it that both men and women would like it. And the music, come on. Yeah. The music everyone's gonna like.
Yeah. The last note I have on here regarding the cast is the relationship between Baby and Joseph, who was his foster dad.
Oh yeah.
Came across as natural and genuine, which is refreshing for me as personally, I haven't seen the dynamic of a white son and black father relationship in cinema before.
Right.
I can't think of any other movie. You could really feel the various attributes of a parent-son relationship, just like the love, the caring, accountability, the kind of teasing, poking fun at each other kind of father-son thing. I just loved it. I thought that was one of the stronger pillars of the film, really, was that relationship. I look forward to every time he was interacting with him. It was super cool.
Yeah, one thing that came to mind was that last scene in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy.
Loved that. Yeah, and I felt that with this movie only because you see baby reflecting back on his mom and dad fighting and whatnot, and they died at a very he was at a very young age, and so since then he has this foster parent who loves him and cares for him.
Yeah. Well, and it's reciprocated back and forth,
right?
Just back and forth, and I really did appreciate the fact that his foster dad was deaf.
Yeah.
Because it played directly into the notion that baby's link to his parents are his earbuds. It's his iPod, because that's what he was listening to and using when they got into that car crash. Yeah. And so that is the one link that he has. It's almost in a way, like we said, Guardians of the Galaxy, where Star-Lord has his Walkman. It's like his one link to home, essentially.
Yep.
And so it was interesting seeing that setup between him and his foster dad, and how he learned sign language, and just the whole thing was refreshing to me.
And the thing about that too is I think they gave us just enough to really appreciate it and value it, without going over the top, because every time they were together, it was something special.
Yeah, very much so. Moving on to the plot. The plot I felt was pretty simple in that it's a heist movie. It's a heist love story. But having said that, it works due to the interesting characters and the frantic pacing of the film. And it almost had a Snatch. And for those who are listening, Snatch is one of my all-time favorite movies, a Guy Ritchie film. I didn't feel it was on the same level as Snatch, but it was definitely in that same direction. And I think just the who's who and that sort of thing, I think really helped kind of provide that wrapper around what is essentially a simple plot.
Yeah. I think it was kind of a style over substance with the plot in a way, where the plot's been tried and tried again. However, because there's so much attention to detail,
right,
and there's so much style that you kind of you sit there and you're entertained, and you go, okay, it's a heist film. I get it. Those can be cool. They can be not so cool, but this one is definitely cool.
Yeah, and I found the journey of the protagonist to be largely unpredictable, with surprises at every turn.
Yeah,
and that just kept it fresh. I just appreciated that. Surprisingly, I felt sympathy for the protagonist during the flashback parental fights.
Yeah.
And perhaps that's because I'm a dad now, but seeing the look on the kid's face as you could tell he's just wishing that his parents were not fighting, and you can see the toll that it was taking on the child.
He just wants everything to be happy. Pretty much just like the will of every child, pretty much.
But just the way it was shot, you really didn't see that very much at all. And you didn't hear what the parents were fighting about or arguing about. It was muted. And
I'm glad they did it that way too.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Very tasteful.
But I think it was only like maybe 30 seconds worth that was in the film, but it had weight.
Yeah.
Just watching that flashback, and I just felt so bad for the kid, just wanting his family to get along, his parents to love each other, and especially seeing how them fighting led to their deaths overall as well. It's scarring him in that way. I really love the poetic aspects of the film in that sense, where it's like he's in a car wreck where he loses his parents. You would think that he would never step foot into a car again, but he does. And not only does he do it, but he's a driver, and he does it in a way to be able to make money and that sort of thing. But it's almost like he's being tortured, but with this vessel that it acts as a link to just him wanting to just be back with his parents again the instant that they were still alive.
Right.
I just thought it was all of those links that you see, whether it's the car or it's the music, that sort of thing. I thought it was really fun.
You know what I thought of, not necessarily going off from that point, but with the music and many different perspectival views that we have of Baby, we're almost seeing the world as Baby views it.
Yeah.
With the music through his eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Like in almost every scene, he's got his little earbud in.
And we'll get into that later. We'll talk about the music. I don't want to jump the shark here too much.
I want to jump the shark. I love jumping the shark.
Moving on to script and the dialogue. As I mentioned earlier, Edgar Wright was the writer, which kudos to you, good sir. We definitely appreciated it. The script is one of the snappiest, cleverly written, lyrically oriented feast for the ears I've heard in quite some time. I mean, just if you think about the way things were said, it was in that kind of hipster kind of way. And it also, too, it complemented the music. Like whatever music was being played, there was also this rhythm, which, to your point, one of the most rewarding aspects of the film is he recorded all conversations and then he would take it back to his place and then make these really sweet mixes that just added a bunch of other stuff to it, and it became sound art at that point.
Speaking of sound, was it me or did they kind of time the gunfire with some of the beats in the music?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Everything. Okay, so we keep going to music here. We'll just talk about the music
Okay,
now.
I'll just do it,
We'll
Russ.
just do it. We keep flirting around it. So every sound effect, I think almost, if not all sound effects and voices, just all sound in that movie directly complemented the music, whether it was in a percussive state or a harmony state, something, or even a counter melody. Everything was meticulously put in place to the point where some people, they may just be able to pick out certain parts here and there, but just from an editing standpoint, that was a treat for the ears the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it was a door closing, someone brushing something off the floor, or someone walking down the sidewalk, or the windshield wipers moving in a certain way.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson actually was just a master at that. He would sample a bunch of different things and place it into his songs, and you'd have to really listen for it, but you would hear a lot of different things that just by themselves would seem kind of random almost. But then you put them all together and it's like, wow, it's like a symphony of sound art. It's just terrific. But the music selection too was just, you could tell that it was a throwback a bit to the 60s, of course, but it had a nice myriad of songs that were also from the 70s. You had some modern stuff as well. I'm actually going to bring it up here just to list the tracks. Give me just a second.
Oh, I think everybody, while you're doing that, I think the music, I like the camaraderie around the music. And I think that either, good music does not age. And I was glad that they didn't just use modern pop music like a lot of very hip and blockbuster movies use.
Or maybe it ages like a fine wine.
It does age like a fine wine, brewed at 8:45 in the morning with a slight salty breeze.
Oh my. But yeah, you had Bell Bottoms, you had Harlem Shuffle, Smokey Joe, Let's Go Away, B.A.B.Y., Cashmere, Neat, Easy, Deborah, of course, those are the two songs that were referenced in the film. Bongolia, The Edge, Tequila, Hocus Pocus, Intermission, Radar Love. I got some Barry White goodness, the Never Gonna Let You Go.
Never gonna let you go.
Brighton Rock, Know How, Easy. I mean, there's just so many. I'm actually skipping over a couple of songs in here, but there are 30 songs in total throughout the Baby Driver soundtrack. So I'm thinking about possibly picking that up. I actually found the track that they used in the trailers, which is the actually, let me bring that up too while we're talking about it. It's a remix of Nowhere to Run. And it's by Boga, which we will play a little bit of later on just to signal things out, just to wrap things up. We'll give a little love with that. But yeah, I mean, just overall, the music had just a lot of great drum percussions.
Yeah.
It wasn't just your standard boom, boom.
Yeah.
It actually had just a wonderful arrangement of different types of percussion there.
And it's just a new way of reliving and re-enjoying the music too, because if they put all those bass sounds and all the percussion and the brass and whatever's in there, then today's modern MP3 and CD players and lossless sounds are just going to reproduce it that much better. I did like how Baby said he had an iPod for pretty much every mood.
That was cool too. Yeah. I loved how like he had multiple pairs of sunglasses and multiple iPods.
Yeah. Yeah, that was, I mean, again, you're just kind of seeing the world through his eyes with all the music. You know, I thought of one scene, going back to the script. I know I'm backtracking here.
That's okay.
One thing I didn't really care for, I'm being critical, and this is just a...
You? Critical? No.
This is just a small detail, but when Doc said, or when they were going back and forth about, is this guy mental? And that whole thing with the tendonitis.
Yeah.
I think that could have been scripted better because it did introduce why he does what he does. At the same time, that you just were given the this is why Baby is good at being a driver, is because he has tendonitis and he has to get rid of the hum in his ear and therefore he listens to music. And that's why he's a great driver. I thought, is that every drifter and every great race car driver? They have tendonitis in their ear and they listen to music. That's why they're good. I mean, I wanted to know why. I mean, obviously this kid, had spent a lot of time probably by himself. That's why he was very quiet, antisocial, and he, learned.
Well, he's just dealing with a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. Yeah, well, he's dealing with a lot, but they just didn't reference how he was a good driver.
From a psychological standpoint, the music and driving a car is his coping mechanism. That is how he's able to cope with the loss in his life. And I think that meeting Deborah in the film was a cure for that. I think, if I remember correctly, when he didn't have his earbuds in his ears and he was just out there, you could hear that hum in the drum that, like what Kevin Spacey was talking about. There was always that there, but then it went away when his earbuds went in. However, any scene that he was with Deborah, if I remember this correctly, the hum went away. It actually fixed itself as a result. So worth noting about that.
Yeah. I just wish there was more story to show how he learned what he learned with the driving.
One of the other things I forgot to mention, going back to the plot segment, was that I thought it was so brutal at the end of the film when John Hamm fires his gun right next to his ears.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about a way to really just zing it back at him for him losing his love.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, wow, that was intense.
You know what I enjoyed too? I'm backtracking a little bit, but it goes to the whole deaf.
We're just all over the map.
So much to talk about the movie.
I know.
I like how the character or his stepfather reached to feel the speaker when it was playing the music.
Yes.
And he could see Baby's nonverbal communication. And he's like, oh, well, who's the girl? And he's like, this is Deborah. I love that scene.
Well, and once again, it's just that connection
that
the foster father had with Baby. And it was just cool how like he didn't have to spoon feed him that, hey, he met a girl. He could tell. He knew.
Yeah.
And if you notice, he did the same thing. Like when his hearing was still impaired, in the vehicle, Baby put his hand down on the speaker as well. Sure. And I don't know. Once again, it's that poetic quality to the film.
Yeah.
It's just that return to certain things that I thought was cool. Cinematography.
That's one of the best parts about the movie.
Yes, the cinematography had a raw electric undercurrent that complemented the pace of the overall film, in my opinion. Bill Pope, who was the director of photography, he has also worked on the Matrix trilogy, Spider-Man 2, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which was another Edgar Wright film, so you could tell that they teamed back up again. Men in Black 3 and Team America World Police, among others. So he's got a lot of really well-known, cherished films under his belt.
Got quite the repertoire.
The repertoire, yes. But yeah, I loved how the close attention was paid to reflections. Did you notice that? Like whether it was the car glass or even the paint job or other aspects of the iPod. There were a lot of attention paid to just like if he pulled up to the diner, you saw like these these streaks of red or like burnt orange neon from the sign that was going across the window. And I don't know, it subtly played into just a zoom sensation of, just driving fast and the pacing and that sort of thing. But I love the raw aspect too. I love the fact of things had almost like a noir feel to them, but it wasn't black and white. It was in color. A lot of deep shadow work, a lot of cast shadows, a lot of grunge textures. And I'm always a sucker for that sort of thing. But what are your thoughts?
I like the long pans.
Yeah.
Something that I've just noticed in many movies is the quick cuts. Cut here, cut every like 2 seconds the most. There's a cut. Just show me the guy walking, and you saw a lot of scenes of baby walking and enjoying the music, and you see him like playing little air instruments every while, stepping to the beat. That's a long pan, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I like that non-cut.
That actually took 28 takes.
That
if it's the one I'm thinking of, it's the one where like they did not cut. It was like this continuous shot. Yeah. I think they ended up. I have it written down in the trivia coming up here, but
okay.
I believe if I remember correctly, it was somewhere around 28 takes.
Yeah. Which I don't know how. I mean, I don't know a lot of this stuff, but I don't know if that's a lot of takes for one scene or if that's less takes for one scene. 28, who knows?
I have no idea. I think it depends on the director and the scene situation. But the fact is that they have to get, once again, all of the actions synced up to the song that they're going to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I liked also the with the car chase scenes, just the pan they did with if they didn't have a whole lot of close-ups, which I appreciated. I don't need to see the big close-up of the license plate or the bumper getting really close. I know that it's skill. I know there's skill there. But to see the car, whip across the screen, and then you stayed there as the car took off, but you still saw that angle, and maybe your perspective rose up a bit. I like that stuff. Those long takes and those sweeps here and there, or when he was in that what was it, like a Chevy Tahoe or something like that.
Something. What was it? Escalade,
Tahoe, SUV, that
something.
black Chevy. Yeah. And then
larger vehicle.
He drove up the embankment, and
that was awesome.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So much appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
Or the scenes when they were strategizing the next heist, and you saw a baby there, and you see his fingers, thumbing them with the music, and you kind of got close. I felt like I was a part of the group.
Yeah.
There was different. I don't know what the word is. I'm not in the industry, but there's different aspects of the cinematography that they weren't the same in the entire film. Kind of like in Star Wars, you have to see the underbody of the Transformer flying across in slow motion. They used tons of different camera angles and sweeps and different skill to capture the movie depending on the mood.
Yeah, well, and the framing, of course, was pretty fun. Just like to your point, they had a lot of fun getting the different angles of the car shots, racing through the cities, and even the shots of the characters too. One of my favorite shots was when Baby was trying to sneak out and ditch everybody and run off with his love interest. There was a shot of Jamie Foxx who was acting like he was sleeping, and he was in the foreground, and he had almost complete shadow on his face. You saw just enough detail, and then you saw Baby kind of more in the background, out of focus, trying to get out of there. I thought that was a really well lit shot. I thought that was super cool. And also the elevator shots too, I thought were fun. I love how Kevin Spacey was always in the front and center, and there's all this nonsense going on behind him, and he's just sitting there dealing with it. What did you think of how Kevin Spacey's character came full circle and all of a sudden it really saved Baby and Deborah?
I think it was over too quick.
Okay.
Honestly,
you want to see Kevin Spacey's character get mutilated a bit more as he was protecting them?
I don't want to see him get mutilated. I liked him as a villain. I wanted to see him. I don't know. I knew that may be the case towards the end, but I wanted to see him live.
Okay.
Or maybe escape somehow. Maybe crawl off,
There was redemption in the fact that he did sacrifice himself.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like the ultimate sacrifice.
And I saw that. I just thought that, okay, this guy's a mob boss or a crime lord. I think he would have something else figured out, a way of escape or a way of like plan B if everything goes to crap. This is what I'm going to do. Which I think honestly, he knew it was going to go to crap. I mean, he arranged for this big weapons drop-off deal to happen, and then that wasn't the case, and he's reading everybody's eyes as he's questioning what the scenario was. And
He's very careful. He's a very careful planner.
And I think he knew everybody was lying to him at the same time. Just for him to not have a plan B of escape, I thought, A, I wanted to see him live, and B, I thought it was cool to see him sacrifice himself for Baby, because there definitely was that connection there, and it made me think that all the threats that he gave him earlier on were just superficial to get Baby to stay with him. Like, he probably wasn't going to go out and kill his girlfriend.
Well, like you said, I think that there are parallels to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 with regards to Star-Lord and what was his? I totally forgot the
whistle guy, whistle Aaron. Yanu.
Yanu, thank you. Yeah, just being able to, you could tell that there was a bit of that. There's a lot of threats going back and forth. Although I do believe that Kevin Spacey's character would have acted those out. I think he was a bit more hardcore than Yondu was.
Yeah.
So I think for the ending of him, I think I would have liked to have seen him go out with a bit more of a bang. Like, it was cool that he, busted out the shotgun and he was taking people out, but I really would have liked to have seen a bit more before his time was up.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the ending for a second?
Sure, we can talk about the ending.
So the first two halves of the movie, I are a treat.
Yeah.
They're just... everything we're talking about has been really, really positive for a lot of the most part, right? But I thought that after the second half, end of the third, and like the third to three quarter, I thought was a lull. I thought that's where they were a bit struggling with the story. You didn't see much more character development. I didn't really care. I just didn't care for it. And not the very, very end, but leading up to the end, like leading up to the very last part, I thought that the death of Don Hamm's character was kind of drawn out. I thought, like I just said, I wanted to see something different with Spacey's character. And I wanted to see come back in for some reason? I wanted to see the villain who was almost the bully in the beginning.
Oh yeah,
Isn't he in the Avengers? Isn't he a bad one of the bad soldiers in the Avengers? I've seen that guy somewhere before. Yeah, or in Captain America.
No,
I don't know. I have to look him up, but I recognize him from somewhere.
No, anyway, you're thinking of John Bernthal, I believe. He was in the Walking Dead TV show. He was also in The Wolf of Wall Street.
Maybe that's where I saw him
with Leonardo DiCaprio and crew.
Anyway, I kind of wanted to see him come back, only because we saw, or he gave us a big part of the background for Baby. And
his mighty return.
Yeah. I kind of wanted to see him come back for some reason. I don't know.
I was glad that he was gone. I felt like he fulfilled his role and that was it. And I think it would have been too easy to go back to him.
Yeah.
But I think perhaps if there was, like I said, perhaps some more of Kevin Spacey involved, something like that would have been cool. But I at the same time, though, going back to my initial comment, I do think that John Hamm's character was a glimpse into the future of what Baby would have become had he stayed on this path.
Yeah.
And I think Edgar Wright was aware of this. And again, I could be totally wrong, but I'm venturing a guess here. But I think that was intentional in the movie where his love was taken away from him. And he could identify that Baby was in love with Deborah and they had this huge thing going for each other. And as a result, just the betrayal, just what was going on, having that bond of both being drivers at that age and then moving on from there. It went back and forth. I do agree though that there could have been something else that could have been added to it, just because it became too tunnel vision, I think.
Yeah.
But again, this is just us critiquing it, like nitpicking certain things here and there.
There was definitely something missing. I mean, we were already talking about we wanted one more driving scene towards the end.
Yeah.
I just think they kind of left us in a lull in that part.
Yeah.
However, the very end was exquisite. I think that they did.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it almost came full circle with the good ending that you wanted.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Baby fantasizing about what he wants to do, and he just wants to get away from this life. And
she is so cute.
Yeah, she is. And
love the smile.
Man, just the fantasy of her dressing up in that kind of 60s style.
Yeah, once again, the 60s, yeah.
And I see Baby seeing Lily, not Lily, good grief, Deborah.
Technically, you're not wrong. That is Lily.
Yeah, they're one and the same. Seeing Deborah as he did his mom from back then. I don't know. This is seeing her in those 60s clothes.
Well, once again, too,
and the car, and
I think that's what drawed him to her in the first place was the fact that she came into work singing.
Yeah,
and his mom was a singer.
Yeah.
Once again, there is that connection that's there. So, a lot of pains to put that together. And I think that it just worked beautifully.
And actually, you kind of bring up a point because our mom used to sing. And there's going to come a point, Russ, where time takes us all, And I was like, do I have a tape or some recording of mom singing? I started thinking about that in the movie. I thought, my heart's kind of fluttering a little bit,
I loved how the cassette case for the mom track was gold.
Yeah,
it was the only gold cassette case,
and that's
out of
the
all
first
of them.
thing I saw when you open up the case. I want to go back and see all the titles that he put with all those cases.
Yeah.
But when you open it up, that's the first thing you saw was mom.
Well, let's transition in here to some Baby Driver trivia, courtesy of IMDb.
Actually, can I say one more point, Russ?
Sure, go ahead.
I love the court scene when everybody's standing up for Baby also, and they're just attesting to his good character. And the whole entire movie, it makes you think back to all the good things you may have missed that Baby was doing, like the nodding. Or recap, yeah.
And he still gets 25 years.
And he still gets with parole.
A heartless judge.
Yeah, I know. But I'm glad they didn't kill him in the end. I thought, oh crap, they're gonna don't shoot Baby. Don't shoot him. Don't kill him.
Yeah.
And they did. So that was good.
So let's see here. Going back to Baby Driver trivia, Jamie Foxx would often stay and watch Kevin Spacey's scenes even when he wasn't in the scene, which I thought was interesting. I think Jamie Foxx has got kind of a history going of just each film he's been on, he has major respect for a lot of the actors that he's working with, and he wants to be able to glom on and perhaps learn some additional tools of the trade, so to speak. John Hamm's role was written for him and is the only actor from the first table read to be in the final film. How about them apples?
Yes.
In an introduction from Edgar Wright, it is revealed that there was no CGI or green screen used to film the car chase sequences.
Nice.
The driving is all practically done, which I'm like, yes, I love that. In a day and age where there is far too much CG, and especially when it comes to like chase scenes, like high scenes and that sort of thing, I want to see all practical effects. I want to see some crazy, amazing stunt driver behind the wheel just turning and burning and just doing these things are just like, wow, I had no idea that you could do that with a car.
I love practical effects. I think there's just an artistry that's been lost with all the CG stuff. I mean, that's artistic too, but when it's practical, man, that's a whole different element.
C.J. Jones, who plays Joseph, the foster dad.
Yeah.
In the movie, he plays a deaf character. He actually is deaf in real life.
Wow.
So I thought it was like, well, okay, well that's cool.
So then the actor who played Baby had to actually learn some sign language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Worried he would lose communications link with his actors or cameras, Edgar Wright had himself strapped into the shooting car rather than being in a follow car. John Hamm joked that he had to perform while looking at a sunburnt Muppet flopping about. The poor director, like being in the director's chair, it's like you just have this vision, and of course you're just passionate about getting it realized. And so you're willing to just put yourself, I mean, even from a photographer standpoint, if you're not in film, but you're a photographer, you're trying to get quote unquote the shot, and you're willing to just do anything to try and get it to happen for you. And that includes just looking ridiculous in different poses and positions and that sort of thing. So I thought that was worthy of mention. This movie is the first Edgar Wright film to be shot in the United States. Yeah, I believe Edgar Wright is British, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, I'm going to double check that to make sure I am not misquoting that. It's important to be accurate.
Or acute.
One of those. Oh, yep. He's an English director. Woohoo! All right.
Kudos. You're not going to get sued.
My credibility is still intact. Woohoo! Okay, let's see here. Edgar Wright had been sitting on this idea for a film for many years. His first use of it was a music video he directed for British electronic duo Mint Royale, which I actually am a fan of. I'm a big Mint Royale fan. And their track, Blue Song. The video stars Noel Fielding as a music-loving getaway driver for a group of bank robbers, one of whom is Wright's regular Nick Frost. A clip from the video is featured in the film when channels are being flipped through on the television in Baby's apartment. I thought that was kind of a nice little touch. Yeah. This film is named after Simon and Garfunkel's song Baby Driver from their 1970 album Bridge Over Troubled Water. The song appears in the film during the end credits. The tracking shot in the beginning of the movie, here you go, Steve, the shot that you love, where Baby gets coffee took 28 takes. The 21st take is the one that was used in the film.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Which, how old is he in the movie? He's about 21, I think.
Oh, no, I think he's older than that. I think they made him look younger,
Okay,
but I think the actor is probably a bit older. You can IMDb it if you want. A song is played in the background of nearly every scene in the film. Also, whenever a song plays in 4/4 rhythm, a shot almost always cuts in one of the 4 beats. And that goes back to the incredible editing job that they did. When Baby is flipping through the channels near the beginning of the film, several lines of dialogue from different movies can be heard. You are so beautiful, or we're partners. There's nothing that matters to me more than our friendship. Each one of these lines appears later in the film as a line of dialogue.
Angela's 23 years old.
Oh, so you were pretty close. Yeah, not bad.
Then depending on when they actually finish the film.
There are multiple references to the Back to the Future trilogy with Kevin Spacey's character named Doc, Back to the Future, and John Bernthal's character is named Griff, Back to the Future 2.
True.
Even casting the actor Flea, who played the character Needles in the Back to the Future parts 2 and 3 for a small role in this film as Eddie.
Yeah.
The character Doc in the film also mentions a past job called The Spirit of 85, which was the year the first Back to the Future was released.
To 1985.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can tell he's a big fan of the Back to the Future. Like, who wouldn't be?
Exactly.
Who wouldn't be?
Exactly.
It's one of the best trilogies ever.
Ever.
But it was cool to see Flea in a film again. The guy just never ages. He looks the same.
Plastic surgery.
Or he's just that awesome. This film drew inspiration from The Driver of 1978.
There you go.
Raising Arizona, 1987.
Okay.
The Blues Brothers of 1980.
You don't say.
And Riding Bean, which I've never heard of, from 1989. The car seen at the start of the film, which is a red 2007 Subaru Impreza.
They got the exhaust right on the Impreza, by the way.
Oh, did
I'm
it,
glad
did it
they
meet your
did.
approval?
Yeah. No,
did it meet your expectations?
A lot of movies, they use these canned sound effects. The WRX sounded like a WRX.
Ah, good beans. Here we go. The car seen at the start of the film, the red 2007 Subaru Impreza, is the same model of car seen at the ending of Edgar Wright's 2007 film, Hot Fuzz.
Sweet.
A little carry on there. I like
Yeah.
it. After the first bank robbery, Griff, played by John Bernthal, jokes, "If you don't see me again, it's because I'm dead." His character is never seen again in the film.
Yeah, right.
The numbers on Baby's prison jumpsuit at the end of the film is the release date of The Driver, 1978.
Ah, snap.
And last but not least, during the post office scene, the teller at the counter quotes Dolly Parton, "Everybody wants happiness, nobody wants pain, but you can't have a rainbow without a little rain."
Yeah.
The final heist begins in the rain. When Baby is released from prison, a rainbow is visible in the background shot.
Ah, it's so cool. That's so awesome. I mean, stuff like that, you got to go back and see the movie a second time, and then you're going to appreciate it even more than the first time.
Exactly. I'm just like, yeah, give me some more of that.
Love those details.
So just to wrap things up, how many stars would you get? I know you gave it a letter grade early on, but how would that translate into stars?
So I think that would be, are we going 5 or are we going 10?
5.
5 out of
5
5
is like the maximum that you can go.
So, well, you can go to
I
can think of a much better number than 5, Russ.
Like for instance, like we gave Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 4.5 stars.
Yeah, I mean, I would say a solid 4. I mean, I was thinking like 3.5, 3 3/4 maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 3/4 or 4. I mean, I would probably say a 4. If I was being critical, I'd say 3 3/4.
Yeah, I totally agree. I give it 4 stars.
Yeah, definitely worth seeing in the theater, I would say. I mean, for sure when it comes out to video to DVD.
To Betamax?
Yeah. When it comes out to VHS, definitely pick it up. It's going to be great. No, but I mean, I definitely want to pick it up. I think it's going to be better, actually. Well, you know me. I like seeing things in higher res than the theaters can produce. So I definitely want to pick it up.
Very cool. Well, I think that wraps it up. We want to thank you guys for joining us on this wonderful episode. To end things appropriately, we're going to sign off with a remix of Nowhere to Run by Boga. And I suppose until next time, we're going to bid you adieu and say happy gaming.
Vroom, vroom.